Okay, geometry friends, here we are with the second part to Geometry 1.1. Remember, we were talking about all this vocabulary that we needed for the groundwork of our understanding of geometry. So here we are. We're going to do 4 examples. So these should be short notes. If you already somehow have these notes, you are good to go and you don't have to copy them. So let's go ahead and get started. This first example is asking us to consider 2 things. 1, give 2 names for this line PQ. So what I'm going to do first is highlight the line PQ. PQ is right here. Those points are there. So this must be the line. The line containing P and Q would be the line PQ. So we're going to give 2 names for PQ and we're going to give 2 names for plane R. So let's start off with the first part. 2 names for PQ. 2 names that we have would be QP, right? We can simply change the order of those letters and we have a line QP. Notice I use the symbol up here. That symbol means line. Another way that we can refer to this line is by the lowercase letter right here. When we name a line, we name it with a lowercase letter. It's not a point on the line, it is the name of the line. So we could call this line N. So that's the first part. Next part says we're going to name 2 names for plane R. So we've got plane R, but when we name a plane, we can name a plane using 3 letters or 3 points that are not collinear on the plane. So what you want to do at this point is stop and look for 3 points that are not collinear. When I look for 3 points that are not in a straight line, I can choose S, V, and T. I know S and T are in a straight line, and I know S and V are in a straight line, and V and T could be in a straight line too, but all 3 of them are not in a straight line. So those 3 are called not collinear, and that's enough to name this plane. So we're going to call this plane, another name for plane R is going to be SVT or plane SVT. We could do that again. We could choose another 3 points or another 3 points on the plane. I could choose S again, but this time choose P and then choose V. So another way to do that would be SPV, SPV, or we could even change the order of SPV. We could name it plane PVS. All right, so those are 2 other names. Let's look at part B. Part B is asking us to name 3 points that are collinear. Remember, collinear means in a straight line, points that lie on the same line. There's only 3 here that I can see, and that would be SPT. So those points would be points S, P, and T. Remember, collinear means on the same line, SPT, or on a straight line. Name 4 points that are coplanar. Points that are coplanar, do we remember what that means? Look at your notes if you have to. Coplanar means that they're on the same plane. So we're looking for 4 points that are coplanar. What would those be? Some students might say RTP. R is not a point, it's a name of the plane. So we have to use things with little points next to it to let us remind ourselves that we're working with points. And those points would be V, S, P, and T. Now that we've finished that example, let's move on to the next. In example 2, we're going to name segments, rays, and opposite rays. So here, give another name for segment GH. Notice there's no arrows at the top of this symbol, so that lets me know that we're talking about a segment. I'll even highlight the segment so we can be sure about what we're talking about. So here, segments have a beginning and an end point, or basically we call these 2 endpoints. So segment GH, the only other name we can have for segment GH, and I'm going to just put the answer right here, is going to be segment HG. Notice I use the same symbol, no arrows, just a short line, and I changed the order HG. That's the same, I'm referring to the same exact segment here. Part B says name all the rays with endpoint J. Do you remember what a ray is? A ray looks like an arrow, and when we name a ray, this is the symbol that we use. We use just an arrow. So as I look at this, I see that there are 4 rays that are emanating from point G, that are from point J rather. 4 rays. Follow with me. So a ray has a start point and then it goes on and on in one direction, if you remember from your definitions from your vocab. And so I'm going to highlight the 4 rays that we're about to name. So we have 1, 2, 3, and let's get this 4th one. There we go. We've got 4 rays. Let's take a moment to name those rays. Now that I've color coded it, let's name those rays. We notice that this ray starts with J and continues on. So this blue ray is going to be referred to as ray JH. This green ray starts with J but goes out in the direction of G. That is called ray JG. Yellow ray is called, well, let's do the pink one. Pink ray is called JF, ray JF. And finally, the yellow one is called ray JE. Those are the 4 rays that we have emanating from point J. Which of these rays are opposite rays? Well, I'm going to show you. Opposite rays make a straight line. So you can see that this pink one and this yellow one makes a straight line together. So those are opposite rays. Opposite rays make a straight line when you bring them all together. And what you want to know is that opposite rays have exactly 1 point in common. I think you can see the other pair of opposite rays as well. That would be JH and JG. These are opposite rays as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on to example 3. Here in example 3, we're going to be called upon to draw. So I want you to be clear and neat about what you're drawing. If you notice on my screen, you can see the grid lines that you have on your packet. Use those grid lines to help you out. All right, let's take a look at the first one. It says sketch a plane and a line that is in the plane. So that line's going to be located right there in the plane. I'm going to highlight this so we can keep track of what our drawings are. So this is our blue diagram. So sketch a plane and a line that is in that plane. Watch how I draw my plane, y'all. I'm going to use my points. Not the points. I'm going to use the grid to form lines that are the same, right? Form little segments that are the same. So from here to here, I did a diagonal across 2 squares, a diagonal across 2 squares, then I connected it. So that's kind of a helpful way to guide yourself. So this is my plane. I can call this like plane W. You didn't have to name it, but hey, why not? Miss Willis's plane. Sketch a plane and a line that is in the plane. So if the line is in the plane, it's going to be right on it, very clearly within the plane. And I'm going to call this line S. I use a lowercase letter to name a line, and I'm going to just take a moment and color it in. Let's go ahead and look at part B. It says sketch a plane and a line that does not intersect the plane. So we want a plane and a line that don't intersect. Again, I'm going to use my grid lines to create a plane. This is pretty good for me. And so now I need to make sure that I've created a line that does not intersect the plane. Does not intersect means it can't lay on it, it can't cut through it, can't do anything like that. So I've made this plane, and here I'm just going to draw another line over here. And this line in my mind is going to be kind of underneath that plane. And here's the situation. Let's call this line S, and we can still call this plane W. You can choose your own letters. Remember, when we name a plane, it's with a capital letter, and when we name a line, it's with a lowercase letter. And finally, part C, here's what we're going to do. We're going to sketch a plane and a line that intersects the plane at a point. So we're going to sketch a plane and a line, and we want the relationship between that line and that plane to be an intersection point, one little point where they intersect. And so I'm going to draw this maybe a little bit larger than last time, still using my grid lines as a guideline, and so that's as good as I'm going to get it. And so now here's my plane, and I want my plane and my line to intersect in one point. So here's the point where I'm going to have them intersect, and here's the line. So my line is coming straight in like this, and then it's kind of going out the back end. All right, so how do I get that look? What I'm going to do is you can do this too. You can draw a line, but then use your eraser to kind of break up that line. I'm going to get a smaller eraser so that it can look a little bit more natural. So why am I breaking up the line? To indicate that this line is not being seen because it is inside or underneath the plane. And then I'm going to add a little color to it. And now I'm going to name it, and I'm going to stick with my W plane. And now plane S is doing something different. It's not laying inside the plane. It's not outside the plane, never intersecting. It is intersecting the plane at some point. Let's call that point Z. All right, let's talk about example 4. It says, sketch 2 planes that intersect in a line. This is a hard drawing for some kids. Some kids are great at it. It took me a little bit of time to learn how to do it too. Here's what I'm going to show you. First, draw your plane using your grid lines for help. There we go. Do that as neat as possible. Now I'm going to choose a spot where I want these 2 planes to cross. And that spot is there. This is going to be their intersection point. So I drew my plane. I drew 2 points on either side of the plane, roughly in the center. And then I'm going to extend out in both directions from that point at the top. And now I'm going to do the same thing in the same way. This line I'm going to put over here. And this line I'm going to put over here, continuing it. And now what I'm going to do is connect these. And we're going to see if we can get the look that we're looking for. So I'm going to get a thicker pen here. I'm going to make this line count, make it look good there. So this is the line of intersection. Now, you know we have our colored pencils for a reason. They really do help in giving a look to a thing so you can kind of get a sense of it. So I'm going to take a moment off camera and color this, and we'll be right back. So I colored the back one, and now I'm going to color the one that we did second, and we'll see how this looks. I'm going to stop trying to be fancy. This is the best I could do. I was trying to clean up the picture, but you get a sense of the depth of these planes, and the fact that one is kind of popping out of the screen, the purplish one is kind of popping out of the screen. I hope this makes sense. I hope you were able to have success in drawing it. We can, of course, name these planes. I can call this one D and this one W, and we can name this line S, and that's about all we need to do here. Listen, I want you guys to have a good one. I hope that note-taking has been making sense. Let me know if you have any questions. We need to talk. We need to make sure you are ready because a quiz is looming. All right, I look forward to talking to you guys soon. See you later. Bye-bye.